I mean, the Expropriation Act was passed by Parliament before the elections during the 6th administration. The President had to go, as with all laws, through the process of looking at the constitutionality of the Expropriation Act. It was found to be constitutional and the President signed it. And that's the case with a number of other pieces of legislation that were passed by Parliament before, but just had to be signed by the President. One of the issues about the statement of intent that forms the foundation of the Government of National Unity is its foundational principles. And one of the foundational principles is the rule of law, that we must respect the Constitution and we must respect the rule of law. The President can't, after Parliament pass a law, unless it's unconstitutional, can't then say that he's not going to sign the law or that he's going to negotiate about different aspects of it because somebody feel that they're not happy with it. It's been passed by Parliament, and this is the approach that's been followed. Like with the Bella Act, there's a lot of disinformation that's going around the Expropriation Act, and I think that as the media, we should, together with government and political parties, educate people about what the Expropriation Act is about. It's mainly aimed at looking at how do we accelerate land reform. And we know that there are 3 aspects of land reform: land tenure, land claims, and then land redistribution. We tried to amend Section 25 as per our conference resolution. We didn't manage to get a 2/3 to do that. And the Expropriation Act is therefore the next step to be able to ensure that we accelerate these 3 parts of land reform. There was an Expropriation Act of 1975, in addition to what they had in 1913 and 1936, and the Group Areas Act, to be able to remove people from their land. The Expropriation Act is to provide the legal framework of how government can ensure that it address issues of land tenure better, learning from the experience of the last 30 years, but also look at how do we free up land for housing, how do we free up land for agriculture, particularly small-scale agriculture, and in a real sense address the historical injustice which our Constitution enables us to do, and in fact see it as part of the foundation. This thing about leaving the Government of National Unity is a bit like, what is it, the little boy crying wolf. And I think that by the time that you really implement and there's really a wolf, you may find that nobody is listening because you've cried wolf so many times. That's all I'll say about that. A general point about South African peacekeeping, if you can recall in 1994, the approach that we followed towards the African continent and the African agenda and peacekeeping in the continent was that the continent for a very long time have been focused on the struggle against apartheid in South Africa and Namibia. We were the last to get free in 1994, which means that with the apartheid issue resolved, it provided an opportunity to look at the serious conflicts that were going on there in the continent at the time. If you can remember Sudan, that was one of the early issues that South Africa got involved in. But over the 30 years, we've been involved in Burundi. After President Nyerere from Tanzania asked President Mandela to take over from him, we were part of the Burundi peace process. We've been part of the process in the DRC. It's not the first time. We've been involved in the DRC since before 1996. Libya is another example. Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa had to play a role. And not just in the African continent. I mean, we've been asked to assist in Northern Ireland, Sri Lanka, East Timor, what is the other place now? Of course, Palestine, that we are involved in an ongoing basis. So the role of South Africa in peace talks and peace missions is based on a document that this year we will be celebrating 70 years, where we said that there shall be peace and friendship. And that's what South African foreign policy is about, that where, as part of the international community of nations, we participate in peacekeeping missions. Secondly, we understand that South Africa can't isolate itself from the rest of the continent, because it expresses itself, if there's a problem in Mozambique, it expresses itself in migration to Mozambique from DRC and other parts of the continent. So there's a link, and your question about what it means for the 62 million South Africans, it means that we have to look at peace and security in a broader regional context in order to make sure that we have peace and security, and we can address the push factor that force people to leave their countries because of instabilities and problems. So that's really the context of our peacekeeping, and our mission in the DRC, together with MONUSCO as well as the SADC mission, is part of that continuity of a policy that started since 1994. What will our inputs be in the Lekgotla? I think the lady from SABC question. The government Lekgotla will look at both what should go into the 2025-2026 program of government, but also to adopt the medium-term development plan for the 7th administration. And that is why the statement that the Secretary General read dealt with nearly every aspect of governance and the priorities that will go into the medium-term development plan, from what we will do about crime and GBV to education, health, to the economy, and particular focus on industrialization, investment over the coming 5 years in infrastructure, as well as issues with regards to water, energy security, as well as international relations. So our input to the Lekgotla outcomes is really what our deployees will be taking to the government Lekgotla. And that is based on the 3 priorities which the President last year in the opening of Parliament set for the 7th administration, which is inclusive economic growth and jobs. It is addressing the costs of living and tackling poverty. And then, of course, the 3rd one is to build a capable, developmental and ethical state. So that is our input into the government Lekgotla. And the fact that we once again met together with our alliance partners, as the SGC said, is part of making sure that we have unity of purpose, and those ANC members that, from the President to the ministers to our premiers, that are part of the Government of National Unity and leading provincial governments, that is the mandate that they have to take into the Cabinet Lekgotla, but also the provincial Lekgotla that will